of Bangladesh is an interesting one. Some of the success is actually born out of gaps in governance. Firstly, the non-government organizations in Bangladesh, the BRACs and the Grameens of the world, in the 90s, 70s, and 80s filled a gap that existed because the government simply did not have the wherewithal to extend education and financing and health to a wide spectrum of the population. The government simply did not have the capacity. But at the same time, to its wisdom, the government did not prevent the NGOs from proliferating and build and expand. And as a result, over the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we saw massive grassroots improvement in education and health and financing, availability of financing at the grassroots levels, thanks to the activity of the Grameen banks and the BRACs and a wide range of other NGOs. So that public-private commingling, if you will, without one thinking the other as an antagonist, I think was a very beneficial thing for Bangladesh in the first 3 decades of its existence. That laid the seeds for the subsequent spurt in growth, but it began with that gap in government capacity, which was filled by well-meaning, very, very effective non-government organizations. Second is, of course, over the last 2 decades, access to Western garments markets with some degree of favorable tariff treatment helped Bangladesh. And of course, a class of entrepreneurs seized this opportunity and build linkages both backward and forward to make Bangladesh what it is today, which is the second largest exporter of ready-made garments in the world. And today, of course, the producers of these and exporters of these garments are very savvy, very professional, and they play with the best in the world and compete and win on a regular basis. The additional aspect that was, meaning of the best of all worlds was the fact that in the garments industry, the founders typically employ women. And these women, when they earn money, tend to put it back in their family, especially in the health and education of their children. And that in itself, women's participation in the labor force, which I believe right now is substantially higher than any other South Asian country for Bangladesh, and therefore Bangladesh is the only South Asian country which ranks in the top 60 or 70 in the global gender index. It has been a very big driver. So the labor force itself, instead of being male-driven, has been male and female co-participation, women working in the garments industry, men in manufacturing and other services. And the most important of all is something that is born out of all of this, the garments industry revolution, the micro enterprises and non-government organizations supporting rural development and progress of the poor, was that a focus on women's education through mandatory participation in school, lunch programs, that brought a lot of kids who otherwise would have started working at the age of 10, 12, or 13. They remained in school, their human capital was improved, and as a result, the country is reaping the benefit. Once you have these ingredients in place, a labor force that is not male-dominated, but also female and male co-participation, an industry that is leading and pulling it up because it's export-oriented and is very successful, which is the garments industry, then the building blocks of a domestic demand-driven economy is also in place. So today, one travels to Bangladesh, one sees massively successful banks and restaurant chains and food producers and financial enterprises beyond the banking system, providing services that people consume, and it creates a self-fulfilling narrative of growth, fueling jobs, and so on. But one thing that I would be amiss if I did not mention is the fact that 70% of the population of Bangladeshis live in the Middle East, live in Europe, live in the US, and they have been sending billions of dollars back every single year, which has also been an extremely strong support for balance of payments and a source of capital for the property industry, for small businesses.